of the Kanagita Street that everybody's talking about. Nobody quite understands it, and uh, my fear is there's going to be a lot of accidents. A lot of people aren't aware of it or exactly how it works. I was speaking to a couple of people today, and they said they don't. I said, well, watch the video a few times, not just once or twice, but 4, 5, 6 times you have to, and then you can picture it so you know. And then you have to go into, are we going to remember that it has changed? You know what I mean? I don't think we were given enough time. But let's talk about our infrastructure, especially with we are in the season right now.
You see it now where, for example, in the example of Kanagita Street, where that section is being turned into a one-way. I applaud the initiative,
Really?
because you can say something is being done, but I'm also of the how you do it, right? For one, I'm a data-driven person. I have heard of and seen no study of turning Kanagita Street into a one-way. I've heard about it years and years ago, that it was once in the master plan of the infrastructure plan for Phillipsburg, but fair enough to say the intensity on the road has changed since then. So is that plan still conducive to today's environment, right? So that's my first question. And the second question is, when you look at the theory of these type of projects, if you're going to turn something one way, the one thing that, and you touched on it, I think it was, you weren't even aware that you touched on it, but traffic, adjusting traffic flows has a lot to do as well with this psychological mind state of the drivers on the road. So you can't assume I change the road today and tomorrow they're going to. So it's proven that when a driver is confronted with a new scenario, it takes at least 1 to 3 seconds to really understand what they're looking at, right? And a lot of things, for accident, you don't need 3 seconds, right? You. And to make sure that those risks are as minimized as possible, you have to implement it up to the closest juncture point. And the closest juncture point would be where the old Frami building was. Right there by Pollo Hermanos. That would be a junction point because you can easily go left. You could easily turn right and go to the main road, and that's a point that everyone knows and understands. Now, where they have to turn left or right now, you're coming out to a point that used to be a no left turning, area going on to the front, going on to the main road. It was no left turning for a reason. Right, so I understand now you're moving one conflict point, which is that turn there at Real Auto, and now it's going to be more free flowing because there's only one way you can go, and now the car's not coming out anymore. But now you just created another conflict point on the main road. So you took it from the side road, you put it on the main road, where if I understand maybe for financial reasons you couldn't do the whole street up to the Pollo Hermanos junction crossing. But be creative. If you're gonna do it, like I said, if the government could find over $1 million guilders for Soul Beach, you could find a couple extra 1,000 guilders to finish off that phase, to make sure that if you're gonna do it, it's done in a more safe and pleasing way. And right now, I feel it's gonna cause more conflict than.
People are going to be confused.
People will be more confused, and yeah. I don't want to talk too negative about it because it's yet to be seen, but just the theory behind it is not nothing for me.
I'm hoping that they'll put up signs at least, because there are a lot of signs.
The signs have to be up already. Because right now, is it one way now?
Years ago. So that's another thing. There's a lot. You see a lot of tourists and non-locals, I would say, because I'm sure they're tourists, whether they're from the United States or the other islands. They're going in all kinds of alleys, and and
to take it a step further, when I mean foresight, I see a lot of beautification projects happening now where sidewalks are being added to certain areas, and that's great. But if you look back, what was one of the main issues? For example, lack of signage, right? So the money that you're putting in the sidewalks, should have been put into the signage first, and then you go to your beautification. Because beautification doesn't make something necessarily safer, right?
Exactly.
So if
Exactly.
people want to walk on the side of the road, they're gonna walk on the side of the road. Because if you put a sidewalk here, but 50 meters further up, there's no sidewalk, you're not really bettering the situation. You're making it look nice. It looks appeasing. People can see you're doing something, but how effective is it? So these are the type of things where money is spent on, and after the money is spent, you're hearing there's no money. But how effective were you with the money that you had?
Right.
So that's my little nerdy infrastructure eye when it comes to all things infrastructure.
Minister, last week I asked you about something that I didn't think you answer it. There was, I think you yourself mentioned it a few weeks ago about the lack of cooperation, backbiting within the staff of I&D, which contributed to some of the backlog. Have you had a chance to address that issue to get your staff to start working as a team? And I know you've been saying a new system, and that there's a glitch, continuous glitch with the current system, and that is one of the reason, according to you, for the backlog. Since then, I know it's a week, but what was done to start taking these applications at least manually to avoid the unjustifiably denial that is taking place? Because after the press briefing last week, I received a number of calls about their papers being denied. Many of them have to go to court to file an appeal. So what exactly? Your new system is not ready. But what else is being done to at least alleviate the backlog and get your staff working together?
So a couple different things in terms of working together. We have a meeting scheduled. Unfortunately, one of the departments, their kind of section head is off island. So I've been waiting for that person to come back so that we can sit again to kind of talk in an integrated way of, okay, how can we all work together? Because nobody going anywhere anytime soon. So we need to find a way to all work together in the best interest of the service that we provide to the public. In terms of I did hear you also on the denials, and I can say in the last week I have not signed off on any denials because I've asked specifically, the way that we have a process now is I have a certain section that then sends me, that section head will say, okay, Minister, all of these denials are ready for your approval, for you to go and look at them. And I, sent the request back when I said, I want to know that you not only sent an email to these people, but that you called everybody and said, okay, let me give you an additional period and I was like, and if you can't prove to me that you did, then I'm not validating or signing off anything, and we have to look how we're going to figure it out. So that's at least one portion where I've said, stop trying to hide behind the system and at least pick up the phone then and make sure that you make a call to that person and say, look, an email was sent to you. Did you receive it? I'll give you another 2 weeks to come in and bring the papers, and then you can submit them manually. One of the issues that we have with those manual submissions is that a lot of times within immigration is divided into different sections, and you have intake, you have advice, you have compliance. And intake very often is one person or somebody's on sick leave. And so if everybody has to bring in manual files, then it becomes a problem with being able to have sufficient capacity to accept those. So I think that's why we don't want to drastically change work processes now either while we're in the middle of trying to integrate into a new system. So at least those are some of the things that we're trying in a pragmatic way to look at how we deal with denials or things that will affect people. So I have to say I haven't been signing off on any denials for right now until I feel that I'm convinced that enough effort was made by the department to ensure that that individual had the opportunity to bring in that paperwork.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
With the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs. The minister is here. We're going to make that name shorter. So before doing this work, my background was actually in communications. I did my bachelor's in communications in the Netherlands, and I worked in the field in the private sector for about 5 years. And all the while I had been doing work in the community. I had been on the boards of foundations, managing projects. And so I've always been doing community development since I was a teenager. And spending enough time on St. Martin and working with nonprofits, trying to solve different challenges, I came to the realization that I didn't want that to be my hobby anymore. I didn't want it to be something I did in my free time. I wanted to give the lion's share of my day to that work, which is a challenging thing to do because there aren't many organizations where you can do that and earn a living doing it. A lot of persons sacrifice their time, they volunteer, they give time and money they don't have because they care. And so I consider myself extremely privileged to be a part of a dynamic department like CDFHA, where we can show you the impact, not just talk about it. And so it is my pleasure to be a part of this project and to support you. As I said, I believe in this. In my own community, we have Sucker Garden in the room right now. I live in Sucker Garden, only about 1 year, so I'm new. But I intend to be just as engaged. And of course, in my position, I'm able to now do that for all of the neighborhoods because St. Martin is small. You're going to find yourself in one of those neighborhoods. You're going to meet somebody from that neighborhood. We are the ones who are going to determine the kind of services that we get, the kind of life that we live. If our kids can walk safe on the street, we have to make that a reality for ourselves. And so one of the most important things that I've learned over the years doing programs is indeed communications. And that was my motivation for doing communications in the first place. It wasn't for profit. It was understanding that you have to be able to communicate your message clearly if you want to bring people together, if you want them to believe in something. And to be effective in communicating is going to avoid you putting a lot of time and effort putting together a wonderful program and then nobody shows up. Or nobody knows that you were doing it, so they didn't know they could have come to you to benefit from that service. And so in a nutshell, what I'm going to do is give you some of the tools and strategies where you can make sure that you inspire people, that you get the word out, and that you can bring people together to unite under whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Most important points, your attendance, right? We are asking, encouraging you to attend 100% of the classes, of course. And this is especially important for those who may be approaching the ministry, the department, for assistance, whether it is in the form of support, in the form of financial assistance. It is mandatory that you attend all of the sessions. But for those of you who happen to attend 80%, is good enough to receive a certificate of participation. So we're really encouraging everyone to attend all of the sessions, not only because it meets the criteria, but because of the wealth of knowledge that you stand to gain. And I am sure, just by the teasers you've experienced this evening, you have recognized that the skills that you stand to gain can be transferred to your personal and professional life. I am sure you have recognized that. Yes? Okay, excellent, excellent. So we go ahead. So earlier we talked about offering assistance with helping the council to establish itself, right? So we get into it. So where it pertains to the notary, the chamber fees, becoming a legal entity, right? So once you've completed all of the sessions, then you would have placed yourself in a position to benefit from receiving assistance to cover these, let's call it the startup costs, when you are, establishing your organization. So these are some of the things you can look forward to. Next slide, please. Accountability and collaboration. So here's where our department and your organization will be working closely. So community engagement, when you have something going on in the community, we can always assist, whether for example, we have a community fund day, right? And the department and your organization can start off by planning it together in terms of mobilizing resources, in terms of engaging other communities to give your event the necessary boost that it would deserve, of course. Next slide. We always encourage organizations to develop a year plan. We cannot emphasize this enough, right? In the past, there were some organizations that would want to do a great initiative, but the amount of time they allowed for the planning did not allow it to come into fruition. So we always encourage persons to have that year plan so that the department knows what's coming up and how we would need to prepare ourselves to better assist and support what you're doing. So for example, we know Mango Fest coming. No, let me leave that. Let me leave the Mango Fest, right? When it comes to the needs-based approach, as you all can imagine, and of course, I'm preaching to the choir right now, but data is the lifeblood of any organization, right? So when it comes to having conversations with groups in your community, it's always important to collect data to keep your hand on the pulse. So not only to understand what's happening, but also for decision making, because your programs are definitely rooted in the day-to-day experiences of the communities you're trying to serve. So we always try to encourage a needs-based approach. What are the gaps in your community? Why is it happening? And what are some of the solutions? Asset mapping, this is a particular exercise, right, where you would identify assets in your community. And when we talk about assets, we don't need to complicate it too much, okay? A particular store could be an asset, a school is an asset, a church is an asset. And as community leaders, it is for you to envision how these particular assets can better serve your community in particular situations. So if we have, for example, God forbid, earthquakes or hurricanes, how could this school be used for X, Y, and Z? What role can the church play in food delivery and so forth? People are also assets. Having a clear inventory of the skills and competencies of persons in your community means that they can rely on each other instead of looking outside for support and assistance. So that's just an idea of what the asset mapping entails. And of course, we always encourage monitoring and evaluation because we need to know whether this particular intervention met its objective, right? That's why at the end of each session of the masterclass, my colleagues and I will be harassing you for your feedback because we have to show and prove to the minister that these master classes are making a significant impact in the lives of the attendees. Make sense? Thank you very much. And of course, as we said earlier, we believe in collaboration and support, right? Because more hands make lighter work. And of course, if we take it to a deeper level, we understand that on St. Martin, we love to assist. Sometimes we go above and beyond to do work. As community councils, you are not only leaders in your community, Sometimes you are the social worker. Sometimes you are the father or mother figure. Sometimes you are the godfather. You fulfill, I mean, maybe I ain't talking to the right people in here because I ain't seen the reaction, right? But you all fulfill so many roles in this particular society. Don't ever underestimate, right, the impact, the lasting impact that you are making on people's hearts and minds on St. Martin. So we really believe in a collaboration and support. So that's why at times your inbox might be flooded by emails, asking for your opinion, asking for meetings, asking for your thoughts, because we are knowledge driven. And based on that, we are able to have responsive interventions for our people that we want to serve together.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah, your social and health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
We start discussion with them and we're expecting lively, fun discussion. First though, here's a little taste of what's happening on the campaign trail.
That public office is a sacred trust, not a ticket to self-enrichment. We in the People's National Party are ready to end waste and greed.
I have never gained wealth by exploiting the people. And I want to say to you that my ethic is that I believe in working for what I have. By the sweat of my brow, I shall eat bread.
Has been going so far. Daniel, let me start with you as one of our unaffiliated guests. What do you think?
I think that the campaign has been very tense so far, especially with the post has been turned on in the beginning part, and there was tension, especially with corruption and expletives during the meetings where the opposition leader said expletive had been a mic test and with Mr. Warmington. But the campaign, it shows that there is a turning point. It's a turning point in Jamaica's history. This election will be a turning point in Jamaica's history. I think Jamaicans are thinking that, do we stick with this program and see the long-term benefits, or does the PNP have an alternative or a better solution to Jamaica's current problems?
I believe that the campaigns starting off, they have been very controversial. And I believe that we need to be more focused on the youth and how we go forward.
Tell me what that means for you, being more focused on the youth. What would that look like?
Being more youth-centric with jobs. When we're coming out of university, having jobs that are ready to accept us. I believe that that is a major issue. Also, just
jobs is a big thing for you.
Yes.
Well, it's been an interesting journey.
You're unbiased.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's been an interesting journey, especially if you're trying to figure out when did the campaign start, right? It's one to watch. I agree with Daniel. I think this is a campaign of an election cycle where we have to make a choice, and I think for both campaigns, the messaging is pretty clear as it relates to they want Jamaicans to make a choice, and it will be how that translates to the voters. For me, I hear Asha Jade, there are so many things happening on the ground, and if you're in the streets, meaning you're walking, you're talking with your different teams, you understand that outside of the big mass rallies and the big groups in the constituencies, there is a lot going on the ground on both ends, and we will see what that will result in for either side. Yes, so thank you, Diane. So for us in the People's National Party, that is actually one of our key focus areas. In terms of our policies that we've been pushing, we've been very focused on how it is that we can make the lives of young people better in Jamaica, make Jamaica a place where young people actually believe that they can live here, raise families here, and do business. And so, as you would have heard in some of our policy positions, we're looking at education, very key for us. So, for example, university students here, we know a lot of people struggle with student loan. What we're proposing is that exiting university, jobs are difficult to access, good paying jobs. And so we say, if it is that you take student loan and you can't get a good job in time or you can't pay back the loan in time, we're saying that we're going to ensure that your loan repayment goes on pause. And then when you get a job, you can start repaying. However, when you start repaying, your amount that you repay will be pegged to what you're earning and not just a standard amount that you should be paying, whether or not you're actually earning that money. And two, we're also looking at, we have a problem, Diane, with students, the performance of students.